Hey everybody, welcome back to Matteo's Corner. Uh, this is part 2 of discussing the roster in MVC 3, Ultimate MVC 3. Playing the PS4 version for y'all wondering which one I was doing. So, we did the Capcom side last time, and I said that it was okay. You know, that it could have been a little bit better, but guess we'll just have to see how the Marvel side fares today. I think today I'm going to start from the bottom instead of the top. Because I started with Joe last time. So yeah, I think I'm going to do the bottom. So here we go. Taskmaster. For those of you wondering, there we go. Taskmaster. Some people actually don't like the original outfit for some reason. This is more looking like the one that's going to be in the Black Widow movie, except it actually has some of the colors of the original outfit. So Taskmaster, I'm okay with Taskmaster. I think he's a cool character. It's cool that it's really interesting though that they picked this character so early in when Marvel has this huge roster of characters that they could have picked from. They could have been lazy and added, we'll just add another X-Man character. We'll add another Spider-Man character, which they honestly should have. We could have added in, another this character, but they never did. They went with Taskmaster, and I actually respect that. I respect the fact that Taskmaster is in the game because he's a character where it's kind of like Chris, where, he has like all these different moves that you can do, but he also represents a classic Avengers villain that never, in the movies and everything, never was in it, and I always wondered why the character was never in an Avengers movie. Especially because he, copies all their moves. He would have been a really interesting villain for the Avengers. Especially like Captain America and Hawkeye and everything, because he steals your move. He is a guy who can steal your moves, and I think that's really cool. So yes, Taskmaster 100% should be in the game. She-Hulk. Yes. I think if you're gonna add more characters into the game, you may as well make it someone like She-Hulk. She-Hulk, on first glance, is a female version of the Hulk, which is understandable. She is a female. Her name is She-Hulk. But the difference between her and her cousin, Bruce Banner, is that She-Hulk is more of a wrestler. And in terms of her fighting style, and she has, these, heavy moves. And it's interesting that they pit Hagar against the Hulk for the promotional stuff. Because I would have... Well, first it was Chris versus the Hulk. Then it became Hagar versus the Hulk. And it would have been more interesting to see She-Hulk fight Hagar because they look, it would have made a little more sense, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad She-Hulk is in the game, and I'm also glad that they had her, not that one, her Fantastic Four outfit. I really like that. That was a cool little nod to the character, and this is where a lot of, this is how I first knew of She-Hulk, was because I'm a Fantastic Four fan, and there was a PS1 game that was a beat-em-up, and you could play as She-Hulk. And it was really cool to have that in there. And then they had all these side bosses like the Hulk. I think Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the Human Torch were there as side bosses. Or no, it was Iceman. Sorry, because you play as Human Torch. What am I talking about? But yeah, She-Hulk is great. I'm really like that she's in the game. Oh, yes. Just yes. Magneto is such a cool character. He is a cool character with a cool moveset. He was one of the big boys in MVC2. I'm glad that they brought Magneto back. They didn't have to bring him back, but I'm glad that they did. Yeah, he's been in the games. He was in X-Men Children of the Atom. He was in Marvel Superheroes as a big boss. He was in X-Men vs. Street Fighter. He was in MVC2. He was an assist in MVC1. So, like Akuma, it's like he kind of has to be in the game. He's one of those kind of characters that you expect him to be there if you have an X-Men rep, right? So, yeah, definitely. Love Magneto. Oof. talk about a character here. I'm going to do this. There we go. Talk about a character that has controversy as well. Phoenix. I'm glad that they put another X-Men character into the game that was new, into the original base game. I thought that was awesome. I don't like her playstyle. I think they could have made her a little bit more aggressive in terms of playstyle. But do I like the Phoenix as a rep for MVC3 X-Men wise? Yeah, I'm okay with Phoenix. I have some problems with some other people in this roster, but I think Phoenix is fine. I mean, it's interesting that they picked Phoenix, though, and not, like, Cyclops. Because Cyclops and, okay, for those of you who don't know, when X-Men vs. Street Fighter was a thing, they had a huge thing on the title screen where it was Ryu shaking hands with Cyclops. And everyone was surprised that Cyclops at least wasn't in the game. But, I mean, I understand why they didn't put him in. Because, for those of you who don't know, way back when this was out, 20th Century Fox still owned X-Men. And they owned Fantastic Four. And they owned, like, a couple other things, I think. And, it was very hard to get big-name characters for cartoons and fighting game and video games and things, and that's why they tried to take out the X-Men and the Fantastic Four comic book wise. But now Disney owns Marvel, got the rights back, so now we're seeing a lot more X-Men and Fantastic Four related stuff coming in. So way back when I saw Phoenix, I was like, oh my god, there's another X-Men rep and it's a new character that's really, really cool. Again, not a big Phoenix fan. I don't use her in the game. I'm not a big fan of her in the comics either, but I appreciate that she is here. As there was a dwindling candle of hope that we were going to get more X-Men characters, and she definitely is fine. She is okay being in the roster, because this was, again, if this was later on and they put her in over certain other characters, I would have been like, eh. But I'm glad she's here. I'm super glad Phoenix is here. So yeah, Phoenix is fine. Spider-Man. Yes, has to be in the game. He's Marvel's equivalent to Ryu from Street Fighter. Like, if you're gonna make a Marvel game, Spider-Man has to be in the game. He has to. And I think at one point, if I remember correctly, he wasn't going to be in this game. Because Capcom, like, I don't remember if it was Capcom or Marvel, but, like, one of the sides didn't want to add certain people in because, oh, well, we'll have to pay money to the people owners. But luckily, Sony's really nice about Spider-Man stuff. So I'm glad that we got Spider-Man in this game. When I saw him released alongside Wesker, oh, I was so happy. I was so worried that he wasn't going to be in the game. I also like how if you look at all his alternate costumes, they're all different. Like, they're not all copies of just a reskin. Like, these are actual, my favorite right here, Scarlet Spider. They're all actually different costumes, and it's cool that they did that. They didn't have to. But yeah, love Spidey. Glad he's here. Ooh. Oh, this is one I have issues with. I don't like Sentinel. I don't like the Sentinels. Okay, so I know a lot of people are going to give me hate for this one too. I had a lot of controversial things on the Capcom one. Like I said that, you know, Trish and Virgil probably shouldn't have been in the game, or at least one of them, but not both. And some things like that. Sentinel. I feel like the only reason why Sentinel was in this game was because Capcom was trying to get characters who were big in MVC2 and the other games for the tournament style stuff, right? And I mean, because what do you think about it? They could have put anybody there, right? Like, X-Men wise. I mean, if you look at the roster here, you've got Wolverine, you've got Storm, you've got Phoenix, you got Magneto. Those are 4 big X-Men characters. Yes, the Sentinels are huge in the X-Men lore. In Marvel's lore, I get that. But you already have the Hulk. You don't need 2 giant characters. Because Capcom sure doesn't. Capcom only has Nemesis, and Nemesis specifically was, I think, picked to fight characters who play Sentinel and Hulk. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. And Sentinel, I don't know about Sentinel. They could have put in somebody else. They could have put in another Marvel character that... They could have put in Black Widow, so you would have had the original Avengers team. Because you have everybody except for Black Widow. Like, if you look here, Hawkeye, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk. Black Widow could have went right there. And then She-Hulk could have gone here, right? Like, or whatever. And it's very odd that they chose Sentinel. It just doesn't make sense. Another thing is they could have put in a character like... They could have put in another Thor character. They could have put in another... You know who they could have put in? They could have put in another Spider-Man character like Doc Ock. Or the Green Goblin. Or Venom. Like, they could have put Venom in this game. You know, like, that's... Okay, again, this is just me. If you guys think differently, I totally understand that. But I just think that Sentinel doesn't need to be in the roster. It's cool that he's here. I like how they gave him an alternate, which looks like his actual look in the comics. But not a fan of Sentinel. I am not a fan. I do not like Sentinel. I never liked him in the games. He was just a character that was cheap. And he was big, and he had super armor, and... I mean, it's cool. He looks cool in this game, and I think his ending is hilarious. But, again, I just, not a fan of Sentinel. The Hulk. Okay, oof. Yes, Hulk needs to be in the game. He's one of the big characters in Marvel. Enough said. He's Hulk. Everybody likes the Hulk. And if you don't like the Hulk, he still has to be there, because he's Hulk. Okay, this character was this is another interesting character for me, because as a Fantastic Four fan, we only got Doctor Doom and Super Skrull. Those were the only Fantastic Four characters that we actually got. And it's strange. I mean, yes, again, I understand they couldn't get a lot of Fantastic Four characters because of Fox owning the rights. But they could have put in Silver Surfer, which I think was supposed to be in this game, now that I remember. And then he was scrapped. So Super Skrull, I think, was their way of getting a character to basically tie up loose ends. Because they're like, yeah, we want another Fantastic Four rep, but we can't get the Fantastic Four. Let's just pick Super Skrull, because he has all 4 of their moves, and it will work. And it did. I mean, it sucks that the Thing isn't in here, or the Mr. Fantastic or whatever, but Super Skrull, I think, is a great character. He has all 4 moves. I mean, you don't need the Fantastic Four when you have the Super Skrull. And as villains go, he's a really cool villain. So, yeah, Super Skrull's awesome. I'm glad he's in the game. Very unique play style. Awesome. Awesome stuff. Oh my gosh. MODOK. Oh, MODOK. No one saw this character coming. No one saw MODOK coming when they were making MVC3. I remember when they first released his trailer, everybody was so confused. They're like, who is MODOK and why MODOK? But you know what? Give it to Capcom, because they always like the characters that are super strange and weird for these crossover games. Like, I think that's why Phoenix Wright worked for this game, because you have characters like MODOK. I actually use MODOK. He's super fun. For those of you who don't know, he's an Iron Man villain. He's an Avengers villain. He's the one that's in control of AIM, which I think, if I remember correctly, is basically... Would it be the equivalent of Umbrella Corp in Capcom? No, I think it's something else. But yeah, MODOK is actually a pretty big villain in Marvel. He's not used very often, but it's really cool when he's there. So yeah, definitely happy that MODOK is in the game. He didn't have to be in the game. Let's be realistic. He didn't have to be in the game. They could have picked somebody else. But I'm glad that they picked MODOK, because it showed they actually tried to delve deep into the Capcom, into the Marvel lore for certain characters. Thor. Yeah. Thor should be in the game. He's an Avenger, and the Avengers were big back in the day. So, yeah. Thor should be in the game. Again, I don't really play as him, but it makes sense why he's there. Okay. This is kind of like Sentinel. Okay. Let me just say out front, I am happy Storm is in this game. I actually like Storm. When I would play the older Marvel vs. Capcom games with my sister, she would play Storm. Or even like Marvel or X-Men Children of the Atom, she would pick Storm. Great character. Super makes sense why she's in MVC3. However, I still think that they put her in because of MVC2 and other fighting games when people picked her because, oh, she was one of the most she was a good character in that game. That being said, I'm actually glad Storm is in this game. We need a couple more X-Men reps than just Sentinel and than just, you know, like Wolverine and Magneto. And it was cool to see Storm there. Happily appreciate that. Okay. Let me just put something out here real quick. X-23 is she's a decent character. She's a cool character. She's a character I thought I wasn't going to like, and then I played as her, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool character. She did not need to be in this game. I mean, I just have to be honest. She doesn't have to. I mean, when you look at this roster for the X-Men side, you've got Wolverine, you've got Storm, you've got Magneto, you've got Phoenix. That's 4 characters right there. That's not bad. Then they decide to put in Sentinel and X-23. Those are 2 character slots that could have been reserved for other characters in this game. Now, I have a theory as to why X-23 is in this game. Yes, she was a popular character that began in X-Men Evolution in the TV show, and then they boosted her in the comics or something like that. I guess she was a popular character. But my theory is that Capcom added X-23 because of the fact that in MVC2 there were 2 different versions of Wolverine. I know that sounds strange. I know that sounds so far-fetched. I know that you would sit there and go, what? They would never do that. Yes, they did. They got lazy with MVC2. There were a lot of characters that were just thrown in there because they were like, well, we need to just make this a huge roster. And so we'll just put all these characters in. And then they added 2 different versions of Wolverine for no reason. They could have just taken Wolverine out and put in a different character. They could have put in a new character. Instead, they were just like, nah, just put him in. So, that being said, it's kind of strange that X-23 is in this game. Again, though, I like X-23. I think she's a cool character. I think that I actually have fun playing as X-23. I like the fact that she's in this game. But this game didn't come out when Logan came out. See, that's the other thing. If this movie came out when Logan came out, it would have made total sense. It would have made sense why she was in the game because Logan was a huge hit. She's a huge character now because she was in the movie. They could have made an alternate costume for this character where she's in the outfit from the movie. Fine. But this was way back. This was before Logan was even... This was years before Logan. Remember, this game originally came out for PS3. And the 360. And then they made a port to the PS4 and Xbox One. Still waiting on that Switch port, though. Capcom, you gotta get on that. But yeah, looking back at this, it doesn't make sense why she's in the roster. I mean, maybe there was another reason that I'm just missing, because I didn't really read a lot of comics during the time this movie came out. I was focused on high school, and I was getting, you know, I was kind of working through high school, and college had just started up a little bit, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm like Sentinel. I mean, like, they didn't have to be in the roster. I mean, they're cool characters, but they didn't need to be in this part. They could have been DLC. They could have made X-23 a DLC character, and people would have been fine. I don't think she should have been in the game. That they could have put a Marvel rep from, like, they could have put Daredevil, the Punisher, Blade, right? Like, certain characters that you would have been really excited to see. Luke Cage, right? But, so yeah, bottom line, I don't think X-23 should have been in the game. She's a cool character, but thinking about it in the long run, I don't really know. Oh, Deadpool. Yeah, makes sense why Deadpool's in this game. He was becoming popular. I think this was before his movie came out, but he was becoming popular in the comics, and he was becoming a popular character in general. So, makes sense why Deadpool's in the game. I like how they actually animated his mouth underneath the mask instead of just being static. Like, they actually took time to make it work. Yeah, Deadpool's fine. I have nothing against Deadpool. I know a lot of people don't like Deadpool, but if you're looking for a crazy kind of character, also he is Marvel's equivalent to a joke character. He has shurikens. He grabs his health bar and beats you with it. So they already had their joke character covered in terms of Deadpool. So yeah, love it. Love Deadpool. Oops. Ah, my boy, Wolverine, my original main in Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes. Every game with Wolverine in it, I try to make him my main, because I just like how he plays. I don't like what they did to him in Ultimate, though. They added this move where he goes Swiss cheese, and he, like, starts, like, rapidly punching the air, and it's just really odd. It's an odd move, and it really breaks the flow of having a Wolverine where, like, you could do all these crazy combos. Now I have to, like, be slower with my combos, and it throws me off. But, yeah, Wolverine, great character. Love Wolverine. I'm glad they put him in the game, because it's like, you know, Wolverine is such a fun character. He's the icon of X-Men. Has to be in the game. Again, it sucks they didn't put Cyclops in the game. That's who could have went instead of X-23. Or they could have put in another villain like Mystique or something. That would have been cool, having a new villain character. But anyway, Wolverine has to be in the game. Love it. Iron Man, same thing. Has to be in the game. Avengers, you know, Iron Man was becoming super popular because of the movies and stuff. Makes total sense why Iron Man's in this game. Yeah, again, some of these characters I don't have much to say, because you're like, yeah, of course they're going to be in the game. I am glad we got Doctor Doom. I'm just going to say it. I am glad we got Doctor Doom. People were afraid we weren't going to get Doctor Doom for this game because of Fox. And I'm glad that we did, because, I love Doctor Doom. Not even just because he's another Fantastic Four rep. He is one of the biggest villains of Marvel. And it would have felt weird not seeing Doctor Doom in a roster like this. So, yeah, I'm glad he's in the game. He's been in it since, oh gosh, like Marvel Superheroes, I think? And he's been there ever since. So, yeah, kudos to Doctor Doom for sticking it through. Alright, this is a character that surprised a lot of people when the original MVC3 trailer first came out. Dormammu, for those of you who don't know, is a villain. Well, I guess now you know because of the MCU. Nobody really knew who Dormammu was unless you were in the comics, because he was a Doctor Strange villain. And for those of you wondering, he looked like this originally. And Dormammu, Doctor Strange, it was kind of weird. Thor, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, a lot of these comics weren't that big until the movies came out. Or they were hinted at or whatever in other things. And at least from what I remember, I grew up in the 90s. It was all about the X-Men and Spider-Man at that point. And some other characters. But yeah, Dormammu surprised a lot of people when he was first announced. And I am happy that he was in the game. I really am. because he's a really cool character. His design, like, look at this design. Like, that's so cool. Like, looking at for a villain, like, that's awesome. And his playstyle was unique. Actually, does he have a different fire trail? No, he doesn't. Okay. I thought he had a different flame effect between costumes, but it's the same. His face looks a little different, though. Anyway. Dormammu, happy he's in the game. Again, didn't have to be in the game, but I'm glad that they put him in because he's a cool character and it showed they were trying to put in some diversity into it. Amazing stuff. Captain America's Captain America. There's no reason to say he shouldn't be in the game. It's Captain America. I mean, it's Captain America. He has to be in the game. He's a big Avenger, plus he was in all the other ones, so... Rocket Raccoon. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the first Guardians of the Galaxy game had come out around this time. I can't really remember if it did or not, but I'm glad Rocket Raccoon's in the game. He was the only rep from the Guardians of the Galaxy, but people were okay with it because Rocket Raccoon's a great character. Again, if you're gonna bring in another series to be represented, you don't need more than one character unless you absolutely have to. That was my problem with DMC, was I honestly think they could have been fine with just Dante. But again, that's just my opinion. I get it. There's people that like Virgil and Trish. But yeah, for Rocket Raccoon, I mean, it would have been cool if they added like Thanos, because Thanos is another big villain. They didn't even have to give him his infinity powers. That they could have just had him where he is like an MVC Infinite, where he is still beating you up without the Infinity Stones. So, yeah, Rocket Raccoon's great. Love him. Iron Fist. One of the characters where they had to change the ending for the base roster because he was in the game. What I mean by that is Ryu had an ending in the original Marvel vs. Capcom 3 where his ending was he was going to fight Iron Fist. And then because Iron Fist was added to the roster, they changed it to where he learned Iron Fist's techniques and went to go beat up Akuma. So, there you go. Iron Fist being in the game, I like Iron Fist. I think he's great. I think it's wonderful that he's in this game. As a character that I didn't really know much about, it was cool to see him in the game. He's a diverse, interesting character. It adds another series into the Marvel roster. So yeah, I'm okay with it. Nova, same thing. Same thing with Nova, as I said about Iron Fist. Technically, you could call him the Guardians of the Galaxy character, but Nova's his own thing. He's basically the equivalent of the Green Lantern in Marvel. And because there's the Nova Corp and the Green Lantern Corp. Nova's awesome. I'm glad Nova's in the game. He's an interesting kind of character. He's not just a blatant ripoff of some other character. It's awesome that he's there. Same thing can be said with Ghost Rider. You know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Because Capcom's roster compared to Marvel's roster, there were characters that they added as DLC that I was like, I was kind of unsure about them. I was like, yeah, you know, it doesn't make sense why they're in the game. Like Phoenix Wright, Firebrand, Nemesis, Virgil, like Frank West, Strider Hero, I guess Nemesis, and I guess Firebrand. They made sense to a certain point, but I was like, did we really need them? Marvel is hitting it out of the park with their DLC roster. I mean, they had Rocket Raccoon. They had... Wait, was Rocket Raccoon in the original game? I don't remember. I don't think so. They had Nova, Ghost Rider, Iron Fist. Like, these are big characters that I'm like, yeah, they should be in the game because they're actual different characters that are representing a series just with one character, you know? Ghost Rider, I'm glad he's in the game. He's an awesome character. Love Ghost Rider. Been a fan of him since like the early 2000s. Before the movie came out, by the way. There is a difference. Oh, Hawkeye. And his Ronin costume, which is really awesome that they put that in. Hawkeye. Yes. I like Hawkeye. When he was first added into the game, people at first were kind of unsure about him, but then he had a really cool fighting style. It's awesome having Hawkeye in this game. because it was showing that the other Avengers characters, like Black Widow and Hawkeye and certain other ones that didn't really get a lot of love before, were starting to become popular. And Hawkeye even has Ant-Man, Hank Pym, in his super, and that's hilarious to me. Yeah, so love it. Doctor Strange, just like Dormammu, I'm glad that he's here. Doctor Strange, in fighting game-wise, needed a lot more friends in his corner when it came to games. Doctor Strange is a cool character. I like Doctor Strange. It's cool that they added him in. It's awesome. Just like Dormammu, I'm happy with him. I mean, there's nothing else I can really say. I feel like he should be in the roster because he's actually a different character. Okay. So, let me get his real color that he had when I first met him. There it is. Shuma Gorath, or Gorath, however you say it. I first was introduced to him in Marvel Superheroes. And ever since then, people have questioned why Shuma Gorath was in a lot of these games. Shuma Gorath is a Doctor Strange character. So technically, Doctor Strange had a rep even way back in the early days of Marvel. He's the leader of the Chaos Dimension, and it was really cool seeing him in this game, quite honestly. When he was announced as DLC, a lot of people were like, why is he DLC? That's so stupid. I was sitting here going, hey, I actually played as Shuma Gorath. I like this character. Yeah, I'm actually, I mean, again, he didn't have to be in the game. They didn't need Shuma Gorath in the game. I kind of feel that way with Jill too. Where, like, they didn't need to put him in the game, but it's cool that unlike Jill though, I'm happy that he's in the game because he's a different rep. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, he's not representing a different franchise, but he's a unique character. Like, he has history with Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel Superheroes, so it was fun seeing him in there. Okay, that's it for the roster. What do I think overall? It's a good roster. It's way better than Capcom's, I'll tell you that. I mean, if we look at how many series are being represented, we have Doctor Strange, the Avengers, Ghost Rider, Nova, Iron Fist, Guardians of the Galaxy. Captain America, I guess, counts as his own character, but because he had his own comic book line. I know Hawkeye has his own comic book line too, but I associate him more with the Avengers. So I'm going to count Captain America as its own thing. That's 7. Fantastic Four is 8. Iron Man's 9. X-Men is 10. Deadpool now has his own stuff, so it's 11. Thor's 12. 13, 14. 14. I mean, She-Hulk has her own thing too, so I guess that'd be 15. So surprisingly, I'm actually surprised. They actually have about the same amount of characters. I mean, you could say that all of these are one roster choice, so that'd make it 13. If Deadpool's counted as an X-Men character, that's 12. 12 or 13. So, I mean, I guess the big thing here is I appreciate the Marvel one more, because there's characters that you expect to be in there, but then there's also characters like MODOK and Dormammu and Deadpool, where they actually went out of their way to add a more diverse roster. Like, they actually wanted different, like, especially with the DLC, these are all characters. You could debate about Hawkeye, but these are all characters that are from their own series, except for Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is from Dormammu's same Doctor Strange, but it's actually Doctor Strange, so it's cool that they did that. But I mean, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess you could count 5 with Hawkeye because he does have his own comic book. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How would I associate him with the Avengers? So if you just count the Avengers as their own thing, MODOK, Taskmaster. Actually, Taskmaster is also Iron Man, but Taskmaster, you know, he's a Deadpool villain sometimes. He's an Avengers villain. Anyway, long story short, I like the majority of this roster. There's only a couple characters, which are X-23, Sentinel. I'm glad MODOK's in the game, but he didn't have to be in the game, right? But I'm glad that he is. I have nothing against him. I think these two there's really only these two, and maybe Shumagarath. That's three. Three characters that I feel, maybe Phoenix, but I'm glad Phoenix is there. 3 or 4 characters, I'm going to round it out to say 3. 3 characters that I have issues with. No. Actually, you know what? Screw that. I like Shumagarath. 2 characters that I have, Sentinel and X-23. They didn't have to be in the game. They could have picked somebody else to fit that roster. But the majority of the roster I am actually 100% okay with. Capcom, though, has a lot of issues with that roster. And again, it's not that the characters are bad. I just feel that these characters could have been different on the Capcom side. Or they could have done a whole different series. But anyway, well, that was a lot of talking. I had a lot of things to say about these characters, but this was fun. I might do this more often with more games. Thank you all for watching part 2 of my Ultimate MVC3 roster discussion. Smash that like button, hit that bell icon, do all that. Comment down below what you think about the Marvel characters. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna go take a break. I've been talking for like a full hour, I think, with just these two combined. It's probably like 2 or 3 hours of talking. So, yeah, I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one. See you next time. Take care.